Move on. I would like to introduce Zach Shahan. Zach is as I said before, Zach is the CEO of CleanTechnica, one of the most knowledgeable people of the industry that's out there. I think we've got your slide. Yeah, where do you, oh, the mouse is up there. Alrighty, so this is still working. There we go. So you scroll down to the slides. And ladies and gentlemen, Zach Shahan.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you all. Yeah, I haven't been following quite as long as Ryan, but we've been following Tesla since 2012. I think Elon's tweeted over 200 or 300 of our articles at times. I've met him, haven't had the 1 hour interview. We tried to line that up for a few months and it kept getting delayed and delayed. But today I'm going to go through sort of the EV market in general, the auto market. It's going to be a lot of charts, a lot of slides. Some of them are not actually public. They're on our CleanTechnica Pro for subscribers. If you're one of our $3 a month or $10 a month or $100 a month subscribers, you get to see them. You can take pictures, get your phones ready maybe if you want, because I'm going to go pretty quickly through them. So if you see something you want to take a picture of, and there might be some fun stuff here, you want to do it quickly. So let's get started. I want to take a sort of big picture view, a few big picture views, and then get into some details. So big picture view globally, 100% electric vehicles, that's fully BEV vehicles, where 11% of new vehicle sales are this year, in the first 8 months of this year. 15% of new vehicles were plug-in vehicles. A lot of people don't realize, even those of us who follow it closely, how quickly the market has grown. So we're becoming a major industry. If you look at plug-in vehicle sales, so this includes plug-in hybrids, which in China are pretty much like the Chevy Volt, bigger battery plug-in hybrids. BYD is number 1, Tesla's number 2, and Volkswagen Group actually is there at number 3. Then you got a couple Chinese companies. If you look only BEVs, Tesla is far ahead at number 1. BYD is actually at a similar level. They're at a similar level right now for how much they're producing a month of BEVs. So it's basically Tesla and BYD, and it's been that story for about as long as for the past decade. It's Tesla and BYD. So they've been leading and they continue to lead. You've got SAIC, a Chinese company, Volkswagen Group, which my friend here, David Havasi, who many of you probably know, we were both a bit surprised that they're actually already up there number 4 in the rankings. And then you got Hyundai Kia. If you look at the top selling automakers overall last year, top selling overall, you have a different list. You have Toyota at the top. You have Volkswagen Group number 2, Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi. It's interesting to look at this, and someone asked me to create this chart, and then think, what's it going to be in 10 years? It's probably going to look a lot different from this in 10 years, but some of the big names up here are transitioning quite quickly, and they'll probably be in a similar spot. Tesla, if it hits its 50% growth targets, would fall in right below Ford on this chart in 2024. So next year they won't be in the top, but in 2024, theoretically, Tesla will be the 9th best-selling automaker in the world across the board, which is pretty. I followed this for a decade. I do these charts, many of these charts every month, and I was a bit surprised. I was like, really? Is it already going to be number 9 in the world? I pressed the button and now it's not scrolling. Sorry. Oh, okay. So we're just going to have a moment to talk about China. So China, I'm actually editing the next China report right now, sitting in the audience, and 35% of new vehicle sales last month were plug-in vehicles in China. 26% were full electrics. So already 1 out of 4 new EVs, new auto sales are fully electric. It's more than half of the world's plug-in vehicle market. So it's more than the rest of the world's EV market combined. So if you're talking EVs, you really have to look and think about China. It's a whole different deal. If you look at this list, there's only 3 non-Chinese models on this list of the top 20. You have the Tesla Model Y, which last month was the top selling auto in China overall. So it was a top selling vehicle overall, almost 50,000 sales last month in China alone. So it's number 4 there. It's number 2 if you count full electrics. And a lot of Tesla fans really don't like that number 1 vehicle being on there because very small vehicle. It's a car. I don't like people who say it's not a car. It's a car, but it's a very small, cheap car. It's like a $5,000 car. And then you've got Model 3 further down around the middle. And then the only other foreign vehicle there is the Volkswagen ID4. So Volkswagen building up a bit in China. We're not going to really look at China, but also if you look at this list, you see BYD's got number 2, number 3, it's got 6 of the top 10 plug-in vehicles in China. And it's starting to get into Europe. If you look at brands and automakers overall, this is only plug-in vehicles. He doesn't do the full electrics every month, but you see that Tesla's around the middle, 7% of the market, and then these are mostly Chinese brands. So that was China. We're done with China. We're going to look at the U.S. auto market. The U.S. auto market is fascinating. I've been following quarterly. It used to be that almost all automakers reported monthly sales. A few years ago, they started, one after another, started switching to only quarterly sales reports. They weren't looking good. The U.S. auto market was bleeding fast. And their response was, let's not put out sales reports every month. So I started tracking quarterly sales a few years ago, I forget what year, and recently, after COVID and all that, I wanted to always compare what's happening with pre-COVID numbers, because, a kind of control group, we'll say. So while you might see automotive news or someone put out quarterly sales reports, they'll compare year over year. I'm comparing year over year and 2022 versus 2020, that's the second bar, and 2022 versus 2019, pre-COVID. That's the third bar. And I think this just gives a little bit better picture of what's happening in this very complicated market where there is no control. We can't really control all the factors. So if you look at the US auto market overall, this Q3 2022 grew 1% compared to Q3 2021. So it sort of finally stopped the bleeding. Compared to Q3 2020, it's 2 years ago, the US auto market was down 13%. And compared to 2019, it was down 21%. So the US auto market has dropped 21% in the past few years. If you look at the volume chart, it looks more dramatic instead of a percentage chart. Almost 1 million fewer vehicles in Q3 2022 versus Q3 2019. So this is maybe hard to see, but this is by brand. So you can see by brand how they change. And I'm gonna go through those same periods of time. So Q3 2021 to Q3 2022, Cadillac actually is the top improvement there with 50%, but it basically just bounced back to what it had lost the year before. Chrysler's there second, Tesla grew 32%, and you see it's sort of an even deal. Here's looking at volume instead of percentage change. So it's not that interesting looking compared to last Q3, but if you go back to Q3 2020, so 2 years ago, you see there dramatic growth from Tesla, 122% growth in the US auto market. A few other brands grew a little bit, a lot bled. Fiat is almost dead, it's like hemorrhaging. Fiat, it looks really bad. I'm afraid Fiat's going to close down shop here soon in the US. If you look at volume change, again, it's a similar thing. It just looks more dramatic because you're looking at volume instead of percentage change. And now this one, the next one is fun. So, if you look back to Q3 2019, we have Tesla grew 169%. An interesting, fun little, if people follow Elon on Twitter a lot, this is one he must like. 169% growth compared to Q3 2019, which has burned a lot of Tesla short sellers, as we know, and has actually led to some new Tesla products that I think some of you might have at home, might be wearing, might have on. David Havasi is going to display for us, if anyone hasn't seen the Tesla short shorts. And I don't know if you recognize David's butt, but maybe many of you know David's face. He's worked at Tesla from 2012 to 2019. He was one of the first employees in Florida, one of the first to introduce Tesla to Florida. Used to drive around a Tesla and sell it door to door. Hey, do you need a car? Maybe I'll let David talk for a second since he's up on stage with his short shorts on.
Thank you, Zach.
High performance, right?
Yeah, it's very aerodynamic. Yeah. Hi, pleasure to be here. You can imagine how I felt
You
when...
can take pictures, by the way. I encourage you to take pictures. You can post TeslaCon Florida.
I'm really shy, so... you can imagine my surprise when Zachary said, "Hey, would you mind dropping your pants in the middle of my automobile sales presentation?" I was like, well, they'll change the tone of it, but okay. But yeah, I started with Tesla. My first interview was in Deer Creek in 2010, but I officially started in the summer of 2012 for the Model S launch program. And when I started, there were about 3,000 people. I retired in 2019 because not working is awesome. I highly recommend it. Yeah, Zach Porter. Yeah. Yeah, there were about 3,000 people when I started. About over 100,000 now. So I was employee around 3,000. Ryan's presentation, I get choked up just seeing how far everything has come. Dan Migan, one of the guys in the video, he was my training facilitator back in 2012. So it's just pretty incredible to see where it has gone. He's sending that to my wife, I'm sure. My wife, he's like,
My daughter's just left. I'm like,
he's like, David, are you bringing your shorts? I was like, don't be crazy. Of course I am.
all right.
Who doesn't underdress their shorts everywhere they go? I can't be the only one.
So it was actually his idea, not mine. He's giving me the credit. I just jumped on it immediately. I was like, yes, let's do this, 100%. His wife was like, you're not bringing those. I was like, oh, we'll talk later.
She has the patience of a saint. I worked for Tesla for 7 years. She does have the patience of a
So
saint.
he might come in with some history. You know, we've done podcasts and things together, but he's got tremendous history. He might have sold many of you Teslas over the years, but he's just tremendous stories from early days. And it's ironic that he actually left that quarter. I didn't realize it until just now, that he grew 169% compared to then. So if you look at volume change, it's you still see dramatic Tesla growth, but you can also get a better picture of how much the auto industry is bleeding. We're going to look more closely brand by brand now, but just looking at Q3, Tesla was the 11th best-selling automaker in the country. It's almost definitely going to, it's going to pass Subaru, and it'll be in the top 10 next quarter. So it's going to be a top 10 automaker in the US next quarter. So looking through these brand by brand, so the top bar is Q3 2022, then 21, then 20, then 19. So you get a better picture, of how each of these brands is changing. And I've sort of split them up into groups. So here you have kind of a top, and this is a chart, this chart is only available for CleanTechnica Pro subscribers, so it's not public, but you can take pictures. So Toyota, you see, has just declined pretty steadily for the past few years. It's dropped almost 100,000 sales Q3. Ford declined a lot.
Toyotas.
Yeah, Toyota.
They got a first-class ticket off a cliff, in my opinion.
Yeah, Toyota's, they were at the top of that global chart, and it's they're really one of the slowest to transition. Ford dropped a lot quicker, but then bounced back this quarter, but still over 100,000 sales lost since Q3 2019. Same story for Chevrolet, almost very similar to Ford's. Honda has bled even more than any of them, almost 200,000 sales lost, almost 50% drop in sales in Q3. So you go to a second tier. These brands are sort of second tier sellers. Hyundai, Kia have been almost stable. They've actually grown a little bit. So if there wasn't all these crises, Hyundai and Kia might have grown a lot in the US market. And they're doing pretty well in the EV space, but I'm still disappointed they don't really produce enough EVs. Jeep has declined a lot. Nissan has declined similar to Honda in a tremendously horrible way. Ram is down a lot. And then you get to the third group, which is the one Tesla's in now. So you have Ram declining a bit, Subaru declining a lot. Tesla is the only one with this type of the reverse chart, the inverse. And then you have GMC and Volkswagen, not that much. So you see Tesla's just going to go up. Last year in this quarter, or in the beginning in 2019, Q3, Tesla was, you can see, was 49,000, 59,000 2020. So it would be below all of these brands a couple years ago, below Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, Dodge, Audi. Now it's solidly above all of them. Then you have another kind of group of luxury brands that, you know, just very small compared to that. If you get to the bottom of the chart, you have Fiat. Like I said, Fiat's almost dead. Like, it's down 208 sales last quarter. It's very sad because his wife has a beautiful electric Fiat.
The irony of all of this is my wife actually has a beautiful, it's like a baby blue Fiat 500e, which is a compliance car. I think they only sold them in California, right? Maybe California.
Yeah, and they're very popular in Europe though.
Yeah. But there's these two brothers in North Tampa that actually buy them off of lease from Chrysler and ship them over. So we were able to get one. It was like in 2017 with 14,000 miles. We got it for $9,000. So it just like gave it away. But it's a little electric Fiat 500e. Gets about 100 miles of range. She goes to the grocery store and yoga and stuff. You know, it's great for her to like go around. What's amazing though, and I've got my Tesla Model 3, but Tesla Model 3 is like the Toyota Camry of Lakewood Ranch, Florida, like at every intersection. So my wife is known around town as the person with the awesome car that everybody loves. And I'm just another guy with a Tesla, which is incredibly, you know, there's been a shift in perception. In one way, it's incredibly exciting. In another way, my wife's $9,000 car is upstage to me, so.
Yeah, no, I'm always excited when I see it. It's got a great license plate, Voltaire, which is really
Voltaire, which was originally on my Chevy Volt, which I was very proud of. Yeah, Voltaire.
But yeah, Tesla's
a sucker for a good pun.
I call it the Camry or the Corolla of our area. I mean, they're just everywhere, all over every corner, you know.
You cannot be at a traffic light. We live in Lakewood Ranch, which is a suburb of Sarasota. Albeit everyone's doing okay in Lakewood Ranch, but when you stop at an intersection, you can't not see another Tesla. A little anecdote, if you don't mind. I lived in Lakewood Ranch because strategically it split the Gulf between Tampa and Naples. So if I need, and this was the time before superchargers. So if I needed to do a test drive, I could shoot down to Naples, maybe stop at a campsite and plug into an E1450, or I could shoot up Tampa. It was just this kind of guerrilla style. There was no brick and mortar sales locations at this time. It was only Dania Beach in Miami at that time. So, and I had a marketing Model S. And so I would drive about 60 miles up to Tampa, and I would be thrilled if I saw one Model S on I-75 during that hour drive. I was like, yes, we are getting them out there. I saw a Tesla today. I saw one.
In the wild.
There are Teslas out there. In a 120-mile round trip, I saw one. Now I'm shocked if I don't see 5 on my 1 mile commute to my daughter's school. I'm like, where are all the Teslas? I only saw 5 in 1 mile. So I mean, the shift.
Demand cliff. Let's call it demand cliff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nobody likes them. Yeah, they can. But it's just I really do get choked up, you know, when I think of all the humble beginnings, you know, like Menlo Park. I was heartbroken too when that shut down. I'm a very sentimental guy, and we spent so much time there and just getting the roadsters going and getting the first Model S. But I mean, it's just keep trucking along, and it's growing faster than we could have imagined. You know, we thought the company was going to die every day. We really did, but we're like, until we die, we'll keep going, you know. And
you have to love Elon's comments back then, like, oh, we're fine, we're going to be profitable, sustainably profitable. Then he looks back and like, yeah, we were on the verge of death.
Oh yeah. Zach was like, did you follow the stock right then? I was like, I didn't have time to eat. I didn't follow anything. It was just like, stay alive, you know. So, but it all worked out.
So, so what's sort of fun on the bottom of this chart now is you have these other, you know, EV brands, Lucid and Rivian, popping up here. They're starting. I just saw. I got to get into the first Lucid. He could get a test drive, but someone came to a charge point with one because it wasn't charging at home, and they said they were going to send him a new adapter for that. But I helped him at the charge point learn how to do charge point, and it was preparing to charge for about 20 minutes, and we tried different And again, same problem. And I was like, well, it's sort of like the early days of Tesla. You'll get really special treatment, treated like royalty, but you have to deal with the bugs. So there's one Lucid center in West Palm Beach, so we're on the other coast, so I don't know how they're dealing with his situation. But it was a beautiful car, amazing, vehicle. It's great to see them popping onto the chart. We'll see where they go in the next few years. I will skip this. This is just about the different, better looking, improved EVs that are on the market these days. Those are all Chinese EVs. So just looking at the broad picture of the market in other ways. So Tesla's at production rate of over 1 million vehicles per year now. Goal of 20 million per year by 2030, as everyone knows. You can see this is one thing I thought would be fun to talk with Dave about too. So this was the Model 3 ramp right here. That I was giving presentations all over, like in Europe, in UAE, in Curacao, in India. Around this time when Tesla's Model 3 was like top-selling auto in Switzerland, in wherever, and it was super exciting times, like, wow, Tesla's finally arrived, this is amazing, we're here. And now if you look at this relative to where we've gone, and I remember short sellers, were very excited, they're like, yes, this is great, because that means all the reservations are getting cleared out, and we're going to see dramatic decline in demand in the coming.
And we see that from other manufacturers, with ID4, Mustang Mach-E. You get these Ford F-150 Lightning, although I think that's going to continue to be incredibly successful as well. I think all those vehicles are pretty good. But you have this backlog of built-in demand from pre-orders. So they're like, yeah, every one we build is being sold. Well, of course it is, because you have X number of pre-orders. And then the question is, once you get past those early pre-orders, what does the market say? I think that's what everyone was expecting was going to happen.
And you did have that one quarter dip, but that was the tax credit had changed, so people were eager to get the tax credit. But then, you see almost consistent growth, and it's just, to me, living through that whole period and remembering that period very well, it's just, to me, a little mind-blowing still that we've gone from that amazing quarter, Q3 2018, to just something totally different. So I think a lot of people here have been watching that journey, but I love seeing it in the charts. We split out, it's still frustrating that Tesla doesn't split out Model 3 versus Model Y. We use Troy Teslaike's information a lot. We collaborate with him. He does the best tracking, I think, of Tesla production and deliveries. But we also have our own assumptions, and this is how we break out Model 3 versus Model Y sales. But you can see that growth from Tesla. The Model 3, it's not that growth. The growth is coming from the Model Y being added. We agree completely with Ryan that we need more. We need vans. We need the lower cost Tesla, which Elon happily talked about a bit this week. This is a line graph of the same thing. Again, you split it out, and you see the Model Y just shoot up. We used to talk a lot about how the Model 3 was the fastest growing new product, the most disruptive product in history, and you just see how the Model Y eclipses that rapidly. So, and I sometimes wish I hadn't bought a Model 3 and I had waited to get a Model, or I think about trading in, but it's just a great vehicle. This is a funny chart. This is the cumulative Tesla sales, and it's like out of a textbook. It's like ridiculous. I think Elon mentioned once, it's sort of like it matches the S curve and exponential growth curve so well. It's like it almost doesn't seem like it's real. But this is this is the growth of Tesla, and this is David working here this period, putting in the hard sweat, and then leaving here and becoming a Teslaionaire who's retired young. So good for David. He helped stalk through it all, and he's he's happily never working, and I'm just like, hey, David, can I ask you for something?
Come take your pants off in front of hundreds of people. Sure.
I have to work still. I should have jumped boat in that.
Yeah, this is work.
So this is the same thing, cumulative sales for the Model 3 and Y. Again, you see how the Y has added to the Model 3. And then if you look at the broader U.S. auto market, again, it's just fun for me to look at who's selling, whose share of their sales are electric more than others. So 13% of new Porsche sales are electric in the US, 10% of new Audi sales. You get to the mass market brands, and Kia and Hyundai are leading at 4%, Ford's at 3%, Volkswagen 2%. I think this matches pretty well with what you think about who's actually jumping into the EV revolution. This sort of tells the story in a chart. So I think it's fun to see. Audi is the one that surprised me a bit. Didn't realize that 10% of their sales are now the e-tron, one of the e-tron variants. It's sort of confusing. They report all. He's got one down the street too.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of a good mix of EVs on my block. Oh, another thing to notice here is scale. I mean, Porsche, Audi, relatively low volume compared to the likes of Volkswagen and Ford. So it's not that Volkswagen and Ford aren't accelerating their efforts. It's just that compared to their already massive volume of those brands, Porsche and Audi, their mix can appear higher. But that being said, it's great that they're allocating those percentages. We're starting to see that. We're going to start seeing that from other manufacturers too in the next, within 5 years.
And then if you look at the volume chart, the Model 3 and Model Y dominate. The Chevy Bolt is third there for Q3, outselling the very mass market Tesla Model X, which now costs as much as my house, maybe, I don't know. And you got Ford Mustang Mach-E popping up there. I'm really excited to see how this changes as the market gets more mature. If you look at Europe and China's charts, it's much more like representative of the overall auto market. And our US chart is still pretty bad. It's 6% of new sales in the US, so it's exciting. We finally broke through that 2% barrier we were at for a while, and we're up to 6%, but that's on the back of Tesla for the most part. I'm gonna, just real quickly, so BYD is now at about 1 million BEVs per year, production capacity and sales. Another 100 million plug-in hybrids, They have a large lineup of different models. As I said, 6 out of the top 10 plug-in models in China are BYD. Also a major battery producer, started out as a battery producer. Back to Tesla. Wait, where's Tesla? So I wanted to highlight, they are, getting their toes in battery mineral extraction, potentially refinery in Texas, cell production, pack production. Every one of those stages is now eligible for a tax credit under the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. So Tesla's got potential to make a lot of money and also get a lot of credits for being a leader in battery production thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, which has actually led to a dramatic kind of gold rush of EV battery mining, refining, and production trends in the US. So a lot of companies just swarming in now, which is really exciting to see. I'm going to skip through these other brands to get to the end here. Benchmark Mineral Intelligence recently came out with a great report on lithium. The lithium market identified that lithium will be needed more lithium will be needed in 2032 than in the years 2015 to 2022 combined. More lithium will be needed in 2040 per month than was mined in all of 2021. And it's just dramatic growth in the lithium market. And I think it's really important to look at this view of the battery market, because we've written about this, talked about this a lot for the past few years. 1% of nickel for EV batteries is produced or mined or processed in the US, 0% of cobalt, 0% of graphite, 4% of lithium. In China, it's 60 to 100% for these. If the future of the auto market is EVs, this would lead us to, there would be more concentrated control over the market from China than from OPEC with oil. So you have to really, we really needed to become a major force in this market. So I'm really excited with the Inflation Reduction Act that we finally are going to start getting on this map, and we're going to, not be so dependent on Chinese EV battery minerals. Nothing wrong with, China's China, but it's just not, even if they were our best friend, you wouldn't want them to have that much control over you and say, oh, you're not really doing what we like right now, we're gonna turn off the shipment of lithium and cobalt and nickel to your country this quarter. You don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, we're like, when you look at how much they're producing, we're 100% beholden. If they cut off supply, it'd come to a screeching halt. So, that slide, I think, is probably the most shocking slide of the entire presentation. It's a huge wake-up call. We're going to be getting out of cobalt, so that's fine. But like nickel, 100%.
1% is produced, graphite is 100% in China.
So we got some work to do.
So it's just, this to me is the most exciting part of the EV market for the past couple of years. The EV battery mineral market has been really frustrating and difficult for the past 2 or 3 years. You're like, everyone's like yelling, like, what, we need to do something. And now we've finally done something, and we have a big rush in the market. If you look at the top battery producers, they're dominated by Chinese and Korean brands. But the good news, everyone's going electric. Even policymakers have gotten on board and are realizing this is the industry of the future. We got to centralize it as much as possible here. Just really excited for where it is. I think much more exciting now than any time in the past decade we've been covering it. And David's going to dance for you now.
Yeah, exactly. The music's in my head. I wish you could hear it.
Thank you guys, really appreciate it. We're right at 10:30, so we don't have time for questions, but Zach, you're going to be around all day?
Anyone feel free to come ask me any questions.
Excellent, thank you guys, appreciate it. Okay, I have 4 announcements.